One, two, three. One, two, three.
Yeah! I clapped hard there. I wanted to feel like I was really in the moment of the claps.
I got some real skinny peaks.
Skinny pigs!
I didn't know how to respond, so I thought I'd just leave it to it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shouting Over the News for Wednesday, the 26th of September 2018.
That's an interesting pronunciation of September.
Yeah, it's definitely not the way you pronounce it in any other language either.
No.
I
Like
can't.
maybe almost French, but definitely not.
I took French and Spanish and morphed them into something disgusting
Or
called
was it actually something better?
Franish or Spench.
Spench is the better one.
Spench is definitely the best one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spenching Over the News.
Oh god, that sounds dirty.
Yeah, no, that was bad. That was my B. Hi, this is a news show. We talk about video game news on a weekly basis because the news is happening. I don't know why I said because there. I'm your host for the week, Mark, and I'm here with Dylan. How you doing, D-man?
Hi, good. Glad we're finally recording because we've managed to delay it a lot again this week.
Yeah, I was on holiday.
Yeah, I'm shocked you're even ended up doing it.
Yeah, I was in Athens on the day that we usually record a podcast, and then somehow this happened. So here we
You say
are.
usually we have failed the past few weeks, but we'll get back to it.
Yeah, we've been slipping. Holiday
Either way,
season's over. I'm
yeah,
back doing my usual job. You're back doing your usual job.
we're all just back in the groove, baby.
Yeah,
Maybe Chor will stop moving.
it's worth noting that yeah, he seems to have. I don't know how he's moved house like 4 times in a month, but he's done it.
It's incredible, really.
It's a point of note before we get into the news that even though we're not quite at our 1 year anniversary of upload because we did like 4 episodes and before we even started uploading, this is actually episode 50. We're
Oh man,
almost
really?
a year of doing them once a week every week, which is pretty
Oh,
impressive.
if we'd had one other one, actually, wait. Will we? Yeah, we'll just about have. No, we won't. The next one we're recording is the October Shouting of Static, isn't it? So it won't be exactly a year, which is a shame.
Yeah. Oh well,
But
what are you going to do?
fun fact, Chor will also not be with us in 2 weeks, so he won't be here for the year anniversary.
He wasn't there for the beginning of it.
Oh, true, yeah.
Do you remember when
Maybe we'll
Tom was on it for a bit?
Yeah, maybe we'll get Tom back.
The return of Tom.
Oh, it'd be a masterpiece.
Unheard of. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't finished Vanquish,
Oh, me neither.
so we may. I don't necessarily know what's going to be going on with that episode. I don't know if we can say anything concrete right now. I don't feel comfortable saying that.
Well, you've played it already, right? So even if
Yeah.
you only dip back into it, as long as you get the feel for it,
Yeah, this is
it's
true.
more the rest of us who have to
Yeah,
properly get through it.
that is very true. Well, we'll see what happens. Either way, news, Dylan.
Yes. There is, I guess, there's one big thing that's happened this past week, and I don't think there's really much point talking about the other stuff. We'll maybe mention a bit of stuff at the end, but obviously,
So we're going to
Telltale
spend the next
Games-
half an hour talking about 1 minute and 18 seconds of Death Stranding footage.
Yeah, definitely, exactly. That's what we're doing. You got to analyze it, baby, every frame.
There's actually been some really, really great analysis about it.
I'm sure that has people
Which-
really go in depth into it.
I'll see if I can pin Shaw down for a Death Stranding cast, a bonus
God.
Death Stranding cast, because yeah, shit. Sorry, there is actual news because 1 minute and 18 seconds of Death Stranding footage is so far from actual news that
Especially
it's
with
not even
talking
funny.
about it with someone who so far doesn't really care that much about that.
Yeah,
You, I'm sure, could talk about it on your own for half an hour. But with me here, I might just go mad and leave. So,
Yeah. Sorry,
um,
I interrupted you for comedic effect, but there is actual news to talk about.
there is, yeah, this one big thing that happened, and it came kind of out of the blue, even for most of them, I guess. Telltale shut down, and it
Hmm.
kind of just came out of nowhere. They laid off a bunch of their employees and basically just had like a skeleton crew to finish off. I don't know, prior. I don't know, something.
To
Basically,
get so The Walking
get
Dead,
everything
the
in
final
order.
season, episode 2, which is not the final episode of that,
No,
was
they need to get that.
released this week or end of
Yeah,
last week, maybe. And so it
to
was
sort of acclaim as well. Like people are saying, so most of the stuff I've seen, well, I say most of, a lot of the stuff I've seen about this Telltale closure has been they're closing as they've released basically the best thing they've made,
yeah,
which is such a shame because obviously, like that first Walking Dead Telltale game they made, I think really brought them back into where they are as a company now. Like the games they make now are all
that.
that, yeah, just for different. Basically, everybody wants a cut of that pie, and obviously they had was Wolf Among Us before or after? It was after, wasn't it? But
After, yeah.
it was their own original story.
It's not an original story, also.
It's not. I as I said it, I remembered that it's not. But it's
I don't
less than
think that they've ever done an original
original.
IP.
No. But it's sort of it's a lot lesser known. You know, I think the reason that that is well known is because of that game rather than the whatever it's from. I don't even know what it's from.
It's from a comic book, I think.
Yeah, I thought so too. But yeah. Anyway, so
Sorry,
like
yeah,
they've
that's
got
not important.
they started off they like those games. I think loads of people love, and even though I've had like a I had played it a little bit the first one because I think they released it for free once the second episode came out. The first
Yeah.
series or whatever they call it. Um, they released at least the first episode of the first series for free, so I played it and it was always a bit like meh for me. But I know loads of people absolutely love it. And then I did actually give Wolf Among Us a go, and that game is incredible. That's really cool.
Mm.
And it's just such a shame that they're just getting better and better. And especially at a time when The Walking Dead is kind of trash. It's some of the best Walking Dead content out there.
Mm.
And now it's kind of, well, where's it going to go?
Yeah, the history of Telltale is really weird. Um, I mean, there since that Walking, it's kind of what you said. I think is also the reason that they have shut their doors. And I want to say as well, since it announced that they were shutting down, so it's 225 of 250 employees
Yeah.
uh, were immediately let go. I
With no
believe,
severance package.
yeah, no severance package and a health, no lasting healthcare, everything. They're just done. I believe the other 25 are on the way out
Yeah.
as well. It's not like,
Well, they're just closing, aren't they? But
yeah,
yeah.
they're just sort of finishing off the last little bits, the finishing off like the Minecraft story mode and stuff. Since it's happened, a number of Telltale employees have come out saying that the working conditions at Telltale were rough. It was because it was a studio that was putting out episodic content for so many different products simultaneously at such a pace. It there it My understanding from the reports coming out now is it was a literally crunch to crunch to crunch. It was 70-hour work weeks to 70-hour work weeks to 70-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
No paid overtime, etc. All of the terrible, terrible, terrible things you hear about worker practice in video game development and have been hearing for years seem to have been in full effect at Telltale Games.
Yeah.
So my heart goes out to those developers. I hope they land on their feet. There's been a huge outswell of support from the rest of the games industry that when it was announced that Telltale was shutting its doors, basically every major developer in the San Francisco area where Telltale is based said, like, we're hiring for these positions, send us resumes, send us CVs.
Yeah,
Ubisoft San Francisco, they've got a huge studio there, put on a free lunch, drinks, mingling thing to try and get as many people there as possible. So, like, fingers crossed those people land on their feet, because it seems like they are a group of 225 people who have worked really, really,
really hard.
really fucking hard just for the love of the game.
Yeah,
Also, I think that's
they.
the reason that Telltale is shut down, right? Like, I'm looking at
I
this
mean, it's
list of
unsustainable, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this list of games that Telltale have made, and there are some here that I didn't even know that they put out. Did you know that they put out a 5-episode Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale series?
I did, but only because I saw it. I saw it like once, just like an image of it, just like what the hell?
Yeah,
I like just out of nowhere, I saw a picture that was said Telltale and Guardians of the Galaxy on it, and just like that's mad. They're like it's the only thing I ever saw of it, and I'm fairly certain I saw it quite a while after it came out. And like nobody ever talks about that,
yeah. I mean, they did all the various different Walking Deads, but
which I
then
think everybody knows about, right? That's quite a popular. You get people who talk about that on Facebook and stuff. It's sort of a quite a zeitgeisty game. But yeah, there's like
yeah,
so
for
much stuff
sure.
that's just ignored.
I know that Game of Thrones one they made was shit.
Yeah, I've
Tales from
heard
the
bad things about
Borderland
that.
was supposed to be quite good, but the I didn't even realize they did 2 series of the Batman thing. I didn't realize they did 2 series of the Minecraft thing.
I didn't either. I knew they did one, but
Yeah, so it just seems like, and my understanding is the quality of a lot of those experiences, for every Wolf Among Us, you got a Game of Thrones. You know, they were not consistently putting out big hitters,
no.
and also, like you said, they made The Walking Dead, and then suddenly everything they made was like The Walking Dead. If you look at their pre-Walking Dead output, like they did those Sam and Max games and the like Tales of Monkey Island and things like that, and they were putting out proper adventure games, like point and click adventure games. They did the Jurassic Park game that wasn't very good. They did that Back to the Future game that got loads and loads of press because they had that professional Marty McFly voice actor
And it sounded
in,
exactly like him. Yeah.
yeah, who was incredible. Uh,
I got that for free on like an old iPad I had.
yeah,
Fun fact.
shit. What? Okay, cool.
It
I don't
was a
know.
Christmas gift. I think when Apple used to do their like 12 days of Christmas,
Oh, I remember that. That was
and
cool.
it was one of those. But yeah, they it's so strange how quickly they turned from. I mean, like sort of people knew about them, obviously, but as soon as Walking Dead came out, they made the same thing, and they made a lot of it, just with, and like you say, to varying degrees of success. Some of them are not good, but it's such a shame that it has happened like that. But like you say, the people working there are clearly they're clearly hardworking, talented people, and I'd be surprised if they can't. I hope they do land on their feet, but I'd be surprised if they can't find somewhere because, I mean, by working there, they've kind of demonstrated how hardworking they are, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Is
It's.
have you also? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say. I was just gonna reiterate that it is sad, but also like the stories you hear coming out of there. It's worth noting the creative talent behind the original Walking Dead season 1 episodic thing, the thing that was so popular and launched them into stardom.
Yeah,
Uh, the actual 2 dudes who the creative directors behind that, the guys who produced it and drove it, left the company, and they haven't worked there for a number of years. They actually left soon after The Walking Dead.
One of them made Firewatch.
Both of them made Firewatch.
Both of them made Firewatch. Okay.
They formed Campo Santo. The Sean and Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And went on to make an incredible game. One of our old alumnus is Henry loved Firewatch, didn't he?
yes, yes, yeah, yes. Video game show alumni Henry was a big proponent of Fire. I mean, friend of the show Ollie. He said that within 20 minutes, Firewatch had him openly weeping. He said it was
Man,
like one of the most profound video game experiences of his entire life. So
that is
like,
intense.
yeah, I mean, he's an emotional cripple, but also it takes a lot to make a grown man cry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is a point of note that there was the situation at Telltale Games has always been weird.
Yeah.
But
It's such a strange thing as well. I think is why it's hit big because even though, like you say, they put out so much and lots of it goes unheard of, but they're just sort of always there. There's always a Telltale game coming out or around at the time, so it seems strange that there won't be. And I think that's
yeah,
kind of what is the strangest thing for me. Like, have you seen? So obviously, because a bunch of people got fired with sort of no preparation, leaks have been coming out. And have you seen that they were like making a Stranger Things game?
yes. So I didn't know that until this came out. Had it even been announced? Was this a
No, it
leak
hadn't.
from Telltale? Okay, right.
It was
Yeah.
a leak.
So
At least I don't think I didn't hear a thing, and I think it was very early days. Like what they've there's some gameplay I think, but I don't think it was super close to being done. But they have also said that like they're going to keep making it. Netflix are going to take over or something, which is odd.
yeah, what is? I don't even know what that means, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it was quite a bit done, then it won't be too hard for them to take over.
Hmm.
Oh god, I've
Yeah.
just looked at some of the footage that it is of. It is very creepy. Seeing a Telltale version of Winona Ryder is disconcerting.
That does sound disconcerting.
It looks
Yeah.
very Telltale though. Yeah, yeah. I don't know how much of it was done, but they seem to think that they can take over. Maybe they'll just end up hiring some of the people who got fired.
Yeah, maybe.
But
Another. I don't want to be the doom and gloom half of this, actually, but another thing that I had totally forgotten until I was reading this Wikipedia page is the critically acclaimed adventure game Oxenfree that came out
yeah.
in 2016 was also produced by some of the lead writers from uh, Telltale Games.
Oh really? Ones who
Yeah,
left or
yeah, people who left. It's again, I don't want to be saying, oh well, you know, the reason all their games were reducing quality is all their talent left. I think it was more their talent left because the studio was not necessarily doing the right thing by its product,
yeah,
and I think it's very interesting to me as someone sort of reading about this to look at how much stuff they produced that I didn't even realize they were putting out, these huge overlapping content schedules, and looking at how since The Walking Dead they've just done the same thing, and how like even some of their biggest talent has actually left to form their own studios and
yeah,
produce their own critically acclaimed games, and then hearing all of the the testimonials from ex-employees now that the whole studio's been shuttered, and it paints a picture of a place that maybe didn't know how to handle its success.
Yeah, they kind of. I know what you mean. It's almost like they weren't ready to become some kind of big studio. Despite how well they were doing, they sort of stayed as a weird small studio that didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a very strange situation of I don't know somehow a game studio getting a little bit too big for its boots.
It's very sad.
Yeah,
Very,
definitely.
very sad.
But hopefully it trying to look for a silver lining. Hopefully some of these people who are very talented, who are stuck working on these episodic story games, will go on to make more stuff like Firewatch and Oxenfree. Because clearly, Telltale Games has been somewhat of a rite of passage for really good story makers. So
Yeah, like the the trick with a lot of those Telltale games was a lot of the time the games took you to the same. Usually, the trick of those games was they made you feel like you were experiencing a hugely diverse, well written, but expansive branching narrative
yeah,
because they were produced well. But then the actual games, like especially with a lot of those Walking Dead episodes as well, they kind of started and ended in the same place, no matter which way around you went.
and it had to really, didn't it? Because
Yeah,
the next one is completely separate. I think there was some element of if you had a save file of the old ones, something would cross over.
yeah,
But
totally. But more or less,
yeah,
you did kind of the same thing in a lot of those, and or you always ended up in the same kind of places. But they were so clever because they made you feel through the quality of the writing and the impact of the choices you had to make, like you were directly influencing the story.
yeah,
And that is such a hard thing to do. Like
yeah.
point
It's
in
very
case,
interesting.
like I love Mass Effect, but one of the biggest problems in the Mass Effect games is how, in reality, there are only really like five important choices
Yeah,
in like each game, and the rest of it is just kind of you go from point to point, and everything else is pretty much incidental. And those
yeah,
big choices tend to just affect very small things.
yeah,
And The Walking Dead, especially, did a really good job of making you feel like you had so much agency. So yeah,
yeah,
hopefully those people go and make cool shit.
yeah. It's an exciting time to see what's going to come out of it. But like we said, still very sad. Especially if I'm sure those people are not seeing the silver lining at the moment. But
No, no, not at all. And like San Francisco is not a cheap place to live.
no,
I think
it's in
it's
fact I think the most expensive place to live.
yeah, yeah. So I personally would not want to be a say junior artist in the San Francisco area who just got fired because your
No,
company is a bit shit. Hopefully these people get hired.
yeah. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. It seems like there's a big effort to actually get them hired, so at least that's good.
Yeah, I
Whew.
spend a lot of time on like sort of video game Twitter, quote unquote,
Yeah,
or whatever that even really means to say. But I actually found it quite emotional seeing sort of the outpouring of support and like the hashtags that came up. And I think it was like hashtag Telltale Jobs, and it was trending on Twitter as
yeah,
all these different developers were saying, "Well, yeah, we're hiring, we're hiring, we're hiring." Even non-San Francisco-based developers. I know Guerrilla Games, developers of Horizon Zero Dawn and the Killzone games, were even saying, "Yeah, like send us CVs. We've got lots and lots of positions open at the moment for games that we are developing." And I think even in the one I saw, they were saying, "And we'll help you relocate to." I believe they're Swedish.
oh wow,
I believe, and they're saying, yeah, like part of our hiring package is we help you relocate. And I think they even said, and if you come to this country, we've got this kind of healthcare and this and this and this. So like, there is support in the world. They're Dutch, Guerrilla Games. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool.
Cool. A
I
fun place to live.
yeah, yeah. It seems it. Anything else you want to talk about, Dylan?
Well, we also wrote down the PlayStation Classic got announced while we've been away, didn't it? The Sony's answer to the like, well, the NES Mini, SNES
Yes.
Mini, all those things. And we'll say what it is first, but there's one particular story that I've especially loved about the release of the PlayStation Classic, or article rather, not story. So obviously, it's the exact same concept as the NES Mini.
Yeah.
It's PlayStation One or PlayStation whatever, miniature, and comes preloaded with 20 games, I think it is, which is the
Yeah.
same. And so it's they're just cashing in on it, which is fair enough. It's clearly a really good model. It's worked,
Yeah.
no doubt about that. But I saw an article that was I can't remember the exact wording, but it was basically, I've had enough of these stupid mini retro consoles. Microsoft are doing it right by just releasing their games.
Yeah.
But why do I have to spend $50, $60 a pop to play these games I already own just on a new mini device, when Xbox One is just making all of their good games backwards compatible?
Yeah.
And we've
Totally.
spoken about this before. I know that you've mentioned this quite a lot on the show. The way Microsoft are handling backwards compatibility is just so good. And I think this PlayStation Classic, as cool as it is, I do think these mini machines are cool. There's a little bit more to it in that it's almost got a nostalgia factor. It's definitely a really good gift kind of thing. And so I do appreciate them, but the way that Microsoft are handling it, in that they're just saying, like, these are the games you loved as a child. You probably still have them in your house. Just keep playing them. Is
For
really great.
sure.
And it's I think what is, for a console that's had lots of issues and isn't necessarily that great, it's probably bottom of the pile for a lot of people in the current generation. The backwards compatibility thing, I think, really makes them stand out.
Yeah. Totally. And Sony has handled, ever since they stopped including the PlayStation 2 chip in the PS3,
Yeah.
Sony has stopped handling backwards compatibility well.
Yeah.
Obviously, the PS2 has a PS1 chip in it, so you can play PS1 games. And the PS3, you can put a PS1 disc in a PS3 and it does software emulation of a PlayStation 1. And those early models have PS2 backwards compatibility, but the later ones don't. And their digital offering for backwards compatibility is paltry and overpriced, I tend to find, for a lot of the games you're getting. And then obviously the PlayStation 4 is just kind of continued that trend. But yeah, I think that's a really, really interesting sentiment. The PlayStation Classic is a strange one because it comes with PlayStation controllers, not DualShocks.
Okay.
I.e., the PlayStation was on the cusp of analog control. So it has a PlayStation controller, which has a D-pad and 4 buttons, and the 4 shoulder buttons, or there's the DualShock, which is the D-pad, the buttons, 2 analog
I
sticks,
see what you
and
mean. Yeah.
rumble.
Yeah.
This does not have a DualShock, which means you will not be playing these classic PlayStation games with analog control.
Which is a pain in the ass.
Which is weird. Obviously, some games don't necessarily need it, and some games you
Yeah,
wouldn't
because
want
I
to play
mean,
with it. But
early on, that was that whole thing about, like, if anyone remembers those old Mad Catz Xbox controllers, and they always had the turbo button, and I could never figure out what it did. And then I think it ended up basically like it changes so you can't use the analog stick, and the D-pad just gets held down, so it's like using the analog stick. That something weird like that. So there was loads of games that were almost designed for both. D-pad wasn't too bad. Like nowadays it would be annoying, but some of the older games are okay. But there are definitely some games that's just going to be pain in the ass, surely.
Yeah, I don't know. So they've only announced 5 games.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, obviously. Jumping Flash, which I'm not familiar with, but people seem
No.
to think is excellent. Ridge Racer Type 4, you've got to have a Ridge Racer game in there. Those Ridge Racer games
Obviously.
are sick. Tekken 3, got to have a Tekken on there. Tekken 3 is a fine at Tekken, so yeah, have that. And Wild Arms, which is another JRPG, which I'm not hugely familiar with. But it
Yeah.
seems like they're big names with 15 other titles in the mix. I don't know what else they're going to have but I'm thinking, right, you gotta have the big three from Konami, which is Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
You'd think, right?
Like
But
you
would that make it a bit? Uh, it would make it sort of. I know that it's a nostalgia thing, but also it sort of takes an element of making it too old for. You couldn't give that to a kid then, right?
yeah, quite possibly. But
And I don't know. They're probably aiming for that. That like, I think they're probably expecting a grandparent to give it to their child for Christmas, thinking, "Oh, that looks cool. It's a PlayStation, but for £90,
and it's little, it's
and it's little."
teeny.
So there would be quite a bit of backlash if a grandparent did that unknowingly, and then you had kids playing Silent Hill over Christmas.
Yeah, I suppose Silent Hill is probably a bit much. Metal
Yeah,
Gear Solid, maybe.
maybe. Yeah,
Castlevania Symphony of the Night, yeah, that's probably fun. But
yeah. Things
yeah,
in 2D aren't gory.
yeah, Silent Hill. Actually, that's a good point. And then I was thinking the other ones that I was thinking. I don't have a huge amount of nostalgia for the PlayStation, but I appreciate it. I'm thinking you got to have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on there, right?
Oh yeah, like
Like you gotta.
I was trying to think, and that's just as soon as you say it, it's like yeah, that's what I played on the PlayStation. We had
Yeah.
one in our little games room, and we had Tony Hawk. What I was thinking was because I don't know how sort of what's the word how ubiquitous it was for PlayStation players, but I had Point Blank, not Point Break, Point Blank, and it was like a cartoony one. It used the gun, cartoony shooter arcade type game, and that was for me always the PlayStation game.
Hmm.
Obviously, you can't have that on this. So I
Yeah,
was trying
like
to
you
think
can't
of the
have
game.
your light gun games, can you? You can't have Time Crisis or anything.
Yeah, Time Crisis is another one. It's just like those are the games for me that kind of was the PlayStation idea, but Tony Hawk is the other one. They have to have Tony Hawk on there.
Yeah, I if they don't have Tony Hawk on there, then I don't even know what the fuck they're doing. Is my
Then
thought on that, frankly.
someone has fucked up if they don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what else they'd have. I don't. I feel like I don't really know enough about PlayStation. We had a bit of stuff on there, but it was slightly before I really got into knowing what was going on. So obviously, as I'm sure anybody is aware on this who listens to this show, I'm a Xbox guy, and that was kind of when I got into games. So that's where my nostalgia sits. But there were a few things on PlayStation, but I don't know. Like I don't know what else you'd expect for that 20 classic games. Maybe like Tomb Raider. I don't know if that was for me. That was one of the ones we had on PlayStation.
I could see Tomb Raider being on there, definitely. Tomb Raider is Tomb Raider's beloved.
Annoying to play on D-pad though.
Yeah, who knows? There are some weird choices with that. Watch This Space would be my opinion on that.
Yeah, definitely.
It comes out December, so maybe something cool will happen. I have
Perfect
to
time for
go,
Christmas. Me
Dylan.
too.
I actually have to leave. So
I was about to say the same thing.
this has been Shouting Over the News. Find us on the internet at Shouting Over Static. We're on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud. Thanks for talking to me, Dylan. Bye. Peace. Laters.
Speedy
Ciao.
exit. See ya.
Adios.